Hi guys, I said I would do a follow-up video for you, coming on from the config video that I did a short while ago. What I want to show you now is how to install the actual scripts that you will use to expand the functionality of Studio One. So you've got the zip files, you've got your config file which we've seen before. Now what we need to do is extract the Studio One.package. And how you do that is simply you follow the normal procedure that you would do with a zip file, and you want to take it to the scripts folder and extract it here, and you will get this Studio One X.package. You need to do this with Studio One closed, and once it starts it'll automatically find it. Studio One will boot up as normal, and you should notice that if you go into Studio One, on your macro toolbar you'll have this big X button, and that opens and shuts the Studio One X panel. So if I just click it, you'll see that it's opened at the top, and if you're in a MIDI track you can also do the same here as well. You can open it from here. So what I've done is I've just opened up a MIDI drum loop, and I'm going to show you some of the functionality for the selecting of files. So you can see here that we've got various parts of a drum loop going on. Looks like we've got hi-hats at the top, snare and kick, usual stuff. So what I'm going to do is show you some of the functionality for selecting different types of notes that you can then move around. Now these functions don't exist in the normal Studio One, so basically Studio One X is an add-on, and it gives you a little bit more functionality when you're selecting files. We'll also have a look at not only editing the notes, but we can also do various editing functions within the velocity field down here as well. So let's just take a quick look. So Studio One X has got this list here, that's your main menu. It's got the usual stuff that you already have in Studio One, but these four buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, changes the view of this macro toolbar because there's a lot of functionality in here, and you wouldn't be able to get it all just on one toolbar. So you've got toolbar 1, toolbar 2, 3 and 4. So 2 features a lot of functionality all related to chords, and I believe this is where you can just select notes, press a button, and it will give you the various chord starting on the root note. I've not tried this one yet, so I'll probably do a video later when I feel a little bit more comfortable with it. 3, it seems really basic again, just some chord functionality. Again, I've not really explored that one. Number 4 is one that I use quite a lot. This functionality is actually related to audio rather than MIDI, so I may do a separate video, or I might try and tackle it within this video. But for now, we'll just go back to number 1. So down here we've got our piano roll view, and what we're going to look at is this select field. Now, select all, deselect all, invert selection, select from start to end, from start to event, and select from event to end. They're all normal functions that you'll find within the regular Studio One. What we've got down here are the add-ons that have been created specifically for Studio One X. Now, I'm going to try and show you these in action. So let's have a look at select all following. Now I believe what happens is if you select one note here and then you go to select, when it works, let's try that again. So select all following basically gives you every note selected after the one that you've clicked. So if I just click away from that, and let's say I click this note and then go to select, select all following will select every note after the one that I've clicked. So you'll notice that these notes behind aren't selected. So let's just have a look at some more. So let's just say click away, click on say this note here, and we'll go back to select, and it says select all following with equal pitch. Now this note is set to the pitch of C3, which you can see here. So if I click select all following, it will select all the notes after this note with the same pitch. So you can see here it's selected all these notes because they're all at the same pitch of C3. Okay, Next one, go back to the select menu, similar pitch. Now looking here, we've got some other notes that are quite close in terms of the pitch. So if we select that, it's basically found every other note that starts with a C. So at the moment this note is set to C3, so that's the pitch, which is C3. It's then selected all the following C notes, but not necessarily at the pitch. So it's just found any note that's a C, whether it's C3 or C2 or C1, it's found every C note that follows this initial note. So we just click back and we go to the next one. So we've had the similar pitch, equal velocity. Now what this will do is that every note that is played at this particular velocity, it will basically select all those, but they've got to be exactly the same, so that's the equal velocity. So if you watch down here, when I run this function, you'll see certain notes are at the same velocity, and it's selected those. So ones which aren't at that velocity won't be selected. So back to this one, and we go select, and then we'll go equal subposition. What this means is that it's going to select all notes which are at the exact same position as this particular note. So that's not the pitch, it's the position. So if we click and look over here at the inspector part, what it's telling us is that this note starts at 1.2, but if you look very closely, and I'll just zoom in, you'll notice that the note isn't hard quantized to the exact start point of the particular beat. So it's saying that it's at 1, so bar 1, beat 2, 0, 1, 10. So we're talking a very specific start and end time, and you can see that it doesn't line up exactly with the grid. So I'll just zoom back out, and basically with this select function it will select all notes with the exact position type. So if you've got other notes which are offset from the beat by the exact same amount as what the start point is on this particular note, it should select them. So let's see if that works. So the reason why none of these notes are selected is because they're not an exact match to the start point of this particular note. But if you go back to the select menu, there's a select all following with similar subposition. Now that will select notes again which are very similar in position to this particular note that we're trying to find. So if we click it and then go select, it will search all these notes and find one which is of a similar position to this one and select them for you. So you'll notice it's saying this note here is quite similar in position to this note. So let me just run that one past you again. Let's try it on a different note. So this one here, if we look and we zoom in, let me just move. At the start, ever so slightly, it's in front of the beat. So it's not perfectly in time as if it was hard quantized. So if we were trying to find other notes of the same position, we can then run that command again. So if we go select and we go similar subposition, it's found these notes here, and that's saying they're in a similar position to this one. So you can see here that note is just slightly in front of the beat. It's found these because they're very close to the beat itself. So that's your MIDI selecting functions. So there's quite a lot of new additions there which you won't find within Studio One itself. So you've got some velocity selecting, but mostly it's to do with notes and pitches. So let's just have a look at some of the other stuff on here. So actions actually is all fairly standard fare. You'll find all of this, I believe, within Studio One, the regular version. Tools is also the same, apart from the chord assistant and the articulation assistant. That's probably going to be another video because I've not really explored that yet. Same with this here. which if I click the drop down is the musical function. So it's basically showing you the recently run MIDI editing functions. So that's very similar to your recent items. So click away from that one. You've got undo and redo, again standard stuff. This next lot, the length, this is already within Studio One, so that just changes how long the note is. So if you were to click at the end, you can do that. Filter, this is actually, I believe, a way to filter certain pitches and notes, so that if you wanted to just only view, say, C3, and also dependent on velocity as well. So if you only wanted to see notes of a certain velocity, even notes of a certain length and pitch, you can set that here. That's within Studio One X. I don't believe that's within Studio One. These ones here, scripter, I've not used those. The list, if you look at this, this is like your old list editor within Cubase. So if you've used Cubase before, I think you may recognise this. And this just gives you the information of the particular details about the, I think this is about the MIDI file itself. So it tells you the note pitch, the velocity, and the part. So it gives you detail about that note. So let me just click another note, then go to the list editor, and it tells you what pitch it is, what velocity it's at, the start and end, and how long the note is. And it's actually an easy drummer file. Again, just to run that, we can try a different note here. Go to list, and it tells you the details. It's very similar to what you'll find actually within the inspector. So that's that one. These here, scripter, I don't know what that does, I've not tried it yet. Chord assistant, I've really not jumped into this. Let's have a look at this one. Articulation, this, again, not really looked into it. So if you know a little bit about key switches, I think this is to do with things like contact, sample-based instruments, which say like you're using a trumpet and it's got a little trill or falls and slides. I think you can trigger them from this particular articulation assistant. Again, I've not used this yet, so really not able to give you a demo of that one. And I think then the rest of the stuff is all what you can find. This dynamics, actually, this is velocity based, I believe. Yeah, you can see there, you can actually change the velocity from this dynamics. It goes from very quiet, if you watch down here, very quiet dynamics, then right up to full whack, that's really loud, 127 on your velocity. So then you've got just different presets really for the certain levels of volume. Transpose, again you can change, I mean if this was a melodic or polyphonic instrument, then obviously you could change the pitch and you can take it up various octaves or down octaves. We're talking drums here, so we don't need to change that. Tempo, I've not looked at this one yet. Same with the legato feature. So maybe I guess you can change the length of the notes on that one. Then the rest of this looks quite standard stuff. You've got loop functionality and zoom in, and then the transform, which is sort of render into audio. So there's a lot there just on number one toolbar for you to sink your teeth into. Let's just take a look at the second one. And again, I've not looked into this one in depth at all, but I believe it's a way of just creating chords in the MIDI view by simply clicking a button. I'll probably look into this more before I can really talk about it. Now the one that I wanted to look at was number 4. This is quite useful. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to switch to a song that's got some audio parts in, so just bear with me for a second. Right, okay, so I've got a song open. Let's just open up the Studio One X panel. Go back to number 4 again. Now this, where it says 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9, this is mixer scenes. Now if you've used console scenes within Studio One, it's a very similar type of idea. So with console scenes you can just configure the view of the console So let's say you want it to filter out all these tracks and only view the drums. You can set a console scene so that it just collapses everything down to just one view of drums. Now the mixer scene sort of follows on from that. Basically it gives you a snapshot of your faders at particular heights and placement of the position of the fader. So what we can do is, at the moment, I'm just going to quickly, and I'm hoping this will work, but I'm going to set all the faders back to neutral. So you need to select them all. So let's just click there, and then let's just select all these files as well. So shift click, and up here you've got some visual representations of the faders. So channels gain at min should hopefully put everything at the very bottom, so it has done. Channels at max, we'll stick them right to the very top, so that's plus 10 dB. And then channel gain at 0 puts them back to unity. So we've got a song open, we've got drums, bass, guitars and vocals. So let's say we're working on just getting some good fader balance for the drums. So what we can do is we want to basically set a preset. So let's just move the faders a bit, and let's just pretend we're working on a mix and we're trying to get a good balance between all the kick, the snare and the overheads and hi-hats, etc. So we'll just do that and then hit there. Now we've got neutral flat. So what we want to do, I think we've put it into record mode now, so if we just alter this, I think now if we turn that off, that hopefully should have set that to preset number 1. So let me just go to 2, back to 1, yeah, there you go. So if you watch, I've already created some presets. You can see now that it's switching back to what was there previously. So number 1, let's just change the name of that. So drum mix. So that's preset 1. Number 2 is a different view. 3, you can see flat. 4 is also flat. 5 doesn't look arrow. Okay, 6 I've just done it all back to unity. 7 doesn't look like it's mapped to anything. So you can just cycle through these different mixer views with this particular function. So let's say we want to edit one. So stick it into there, and let's say we want to change these guitars, move it up